In a stunning turn of events just moments ago, the FBI made a discovery aboard Luis Tagle's private jet that will change everything. What they found wasn't just unexpected, it was a revelation that could have far-reaching consequences.
Everybody in the FBI, in every investigation that we conduct.
Inside that jet, hidden from the world, were files and items that paint a very different picture of Tagle than anyone ever imagined. With each passing moment, the details are starting to surface, and the implications are undeniable. Secrets, connections, and a world of power that few knew existed are now exposed. What the FBI uncovered today could unravel much more than just one man's life.
Be happy or unhappy about the outcome of our investigation.
It could reshape the very fabric of what we know about influence, corruption, and the lengths people will go to protect their darkest truths. The truth, it seems, is far deeper and darker than anyone could have predicted. Public image and global influence of Luis Antonio Tagle. What makes a man destined for greatness? Some say it's charisma, others say it's a life lived in service to others. Luis Antonio Tagle, a name whispered in Vatican corridors as a future pope, embodies both, and more. Luis Antonio Tagle, affectionately known as Chito to those close to him, is a Filipino cardinal whose rise in the Catholic Church has been nothing short of meteoric. But what sets him apart is not just his rank or title, it's his warmth, humility, and extraordinary ability to connect with people across boundaries of culture, language, and even faith. As the world wrestles with crises like poverty, migration, and inequality, Tagle's approachability and empathetic leadership have made him a beacon of hope for millions. Is it just faith, or does he hold the key to a more compassionate world? A cardinal for the people. It's not every day that a man of such high stature chooses simplicity over grandeur, but that's exactly what Tagle does. Born in Manila in 1957, Tagle grew up in a family that understood the value of hard work and faith. These early lessons shaped his view of the world, instilling in him a deep sense of responsibility toward those who are less fortunate. He carries this grounding with him even today, despite standing as one of the Catholic Church's most influential figures. Imagine a man of immense power who would rather listen to the struggles of a street vendor than sit at a lavish banquet. That's Tagle. Tagle's reputation as a cardinal for the people stems from his unique ability to connect with everyone he meets. Whether he's in a grand cathedral or a crowded slum, his approachable demeanor remains the same. This quality has earned him widespread admiration, particularly among the youth and marginalized communities. His ability to bridge the gap between the pulpit and the pews makes him relatable, breaking the stereotype of aloofness often associated with religious leaders. A rising star in the Vatican. Could this humble man from Manila be destined to wear the papal crown? Luis Tagle's name frequently surfaces in conversations about potential future popes. His unique blend of theological depth, pastoral care, and emotional intelligence has led many to see him as a strong candidate for the highest office in the Catholic Church. His rise within the Vatican hierarchy has been swift yet deliberate. In 2012, Pope Benedict XVI appointed him as the Archbishop of Manila. Just a year later, Pope Francis elevated him to cardinal, a decision that underscored the Church's recognition of his extraordinary qualities. But what truly sets Tagle apart is his alignment with Pope Francis's vision of a church for the poor. Like Francis, Tagle emphasizes humility, simplicity, and inclusivity. His speeches often touch on the plight of the marginalized, showing a deep understanding of their struggles and an unwavering commitment to their cause. This alignment with Francis has led some to speculate whether Tagle is being groomed for even greater responsibilities in the future. A Filipino pope? The idea seemed far-fetched until Tagle entered the global stage. Tackling poverty with compassion. One of the most pressing issues Tagle addresses is poverty. As a leader from the Philippines, a country with stark socioeconomic disparities, he has seen firsthand the devastating effects of poverty on individuals and families. But rather than speaking in abstract terms, Tagle brings a deeply human perspective to the conversation. When was the last time you saw a global leader cry with the people he serves? Tagle does, every time. He often shares stories of people he's met. A single mother struggling to feed her children, a farmer losing his livelihood due to climate change, or a young child forced to leave school to work. These stories are not just anecdotes, they are calls to action. Tagle urges both the church and global leaders to tackle poverty not as an economic problem, but as a moral one. He believes that true progress is impossible unless society uplifts its most vulnerable members. What happens when people lose everything they know and love? Tagle doesn't just ask the question, he works toward the answer. Tagle's empathy extends to another pressing issue: migration. As millions flee their homes due to war, persecution, or poverty, Tagle has emerged as a staunch advocate for migrants and refugees. He serves as the president of Caritas Internationalis, a global Catholic organization dedicated to humanitarian aid. In this role, he has traveled to refugee camps and border crossings, witnessing the harrowing realities of displacement. Unlike many leaders who discuss migration in political terms, Tagle frames it as a deeply human issue. He emphasizes the dignity of every person, urging nations to welcome migrants with open arms and compassionate hearts. His speeches often highlight the resilience of those who are forced to start over in foreign lands, painting them not as burdens but as contributors to society. Is it idealism, or can Tagle's message of compassion actually transform the way the world handles migration? A voice for social justice. Luis Tagle is not afraid to address controversial topics, and that courage is part of what makes him so compelling. From climate change to systemic inequality, Tagle consistently calls for accountability and justice. His leadership style is not about commanding from above, but walking alongside those who suffer. In a world full of divisions, can one man really unite us? Tagle believes he can, or at least he's willing to try. Tagle has spoken out against exploitation, environmental degradation, and the misuse of power. His speeches are often imbued with hope but also with a challenge: to care for one another as stewards of a shared world. He calls on governments, corporations, and individuals alike to take responsibility for creating a more just and equitable society. What if the secret to leadership is not strength, but vulnerability? Tagle's popularity is not limited to the Philippines. He has become a beloved figure worldwide, particularly among young Catholics. His social media presence and public addresses resonate deeply because he speaks not just as a leader, but as a fellow human being. He often uses humor and storytelling to engage his audience, making complex theological ideas accessible and relatable. This ability to connect has earned him comparisons to figures like Pope John Paul II, who was also known for his rapport with the youth. For many, Tagle represents the future of the Church: inclusive, compassionate, and grounded in the realities of modern life. The world is searching for hope. Could Luis Tagle be the answer? As crises mount globally, leaders like Tagle offer a glimmer of hope. His vision is not just about religion, it's about humanity. Tagle believes that faith should inspire action, and his life is a testament to that belief. Whether he's advocating for the poor, comforting migrants, or inspiring young people, his message remains consistent. We are all connected, and we have a responsibility to care for one another. Challenges in leadership. Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, often called the Asian Pope by admirers, has emerged as one of the most prominent voices in the Catholic Church. But even a figure as charismatic as Tagle is not immune to the challenges of leading a 2,000-year-old institution grappling with modern-day scandals and reforms. From addressing clerical misconduct to navigating the delicate balance between tradition and modernization, Tagle's leadership has been a mix of empathy, determination, and strategic ambiguity. Let's delve into how he has handled some of the most pressing challenges of his career, and how his responses continue to shape his legacy. What happens when tradition meets the storm of modernity? Tagle's leadership journey might hold the answer. One of the most challenging aspects of Tagle's leadership has been addressing scandals within the Church. The global Catholic Church has faced intense scrutiny over the past 2 decades due to revelations of clerical misconduct, particularly cases of abuse by priests. These scandals have shaken the faith of millions and tarnished the Church's moral authority. Tagle, a bishop turned cardinal with a reputation for humility and compassion, has not shied away from these controversies. But his approach is anything but straightforward. When Tagle was the Archbishop of Manila, he often spoke about the need for truth and justice within the Church. He acknowledged the pain of survivors and emphasized the importance of listening to their stories. His public speeches frequently highlighted a simple yet profound message: the Church must first acknowledge its sins before it can heal. However, critics have argued that his words sometimes lack the decisive action necessary to bring about systemic change. Is it enough to apologize? Or does true reform require breaking centuries-old traditions? In 2019, Tagle's role expanded dramatically when Pope Francis appointed him prefect of the Congregation for the Evangelization of Peoples. This new position gave him a more global platform, but also placed him squarely in the middle of ongoing efforts to reform the Church. Under Pope Francis, there has been a push to address clerical misconduct through concrete actions, including changes to church law and greater cooperation with civil authorities. Tagle's challenge has been to align his empathetic, pastoral approach with the Vatican's broader mandate for accountability. Tagle has often drawn upon his deep theological knowledge and cultural sensitivity to address these issues. Coming from the Philippines, a country with a complex mix of traditional Catholic values and emerging progressive movements, he is uniquely positioned to bridge the gap between old and new. He has argued that reforms should not merely be reactive, but should aim to transform the Church into a place of true healing and renewal. For Tagle, this means addressing not just individual cases of misconduct, but also the structures that allow such abuses to occur. Can one man reconcile the weight of history with the demands of change? Another significant challenge for Tagle has been navigating the tension between tradition and modernization. The Catholic Church, steeped in centuries of rituals and doctrines, often finds itself at odds with a rapidly changing world. From debates about women's roles in the Church to questions about LGBTQ+ inclusion, the pressure to modernize has never been greater. Tagle's leadership style, marked by a gentle yet firm adherence to Church teachings, has both inspired hope and drawn criticism. Tagle has consistently emphasized the importance of dialogue. He believes that modernization does not mean abandoning tradition, but rather finding ways to make it relevant in contemporary contexts. For example, in his speeches, he has spoken about the Church's responsibility to be a listening church, one that engages with the struggles and aspirations of the people it serves. His work with young people has been particularly notable. He frequently interacts with youth groups and social media platforms to make the Church's message accessible to a new generation. In a digital age, can a church rooted in ancient traditions still speak to the hearts of the young? Despite his openness to dialogue, Tagle has been careful not to stray too far from the Church's established teachings. This cautious approach has led some to accuse him of being overly conservative, while others see it as a necessary strategy to maintain unity within a global institution. For instance, when discussing the role of women in the Church, Tagle has acknowledged their vital contributions, but has stopped short of advocating for female ordination. Similarly, on LGBTQ+ issues, he has expressed compassion and a willingness to listen, but has not supported doctrinal changes. This balancing act has made Tagle a polarizing figure in some circles. Yet, it is precisely this ability to navigate complex issues without alienating either traditionalists or progressives that has earned him a reputation as a unifying leader. His emphasis on humility, famously seen when he broke down in tears during a Vatican meeting discussing clerical abuse, has humanized him in the eyes of many. At the same time, his intellectual rigor ensures that his arguments are grounded in theology, rather than sentimentality. Is Tagle's leadership the compromise the Church needs, or is it a step too slow for a world in flux? One of the most dramatic moments in Tagle's career came during the Synod of Bishops in 2019, where he played a key role in discussions about the Amazon region. The Synod tackled controversial topics such as the ordination of married men and the protection of indigenous cultures. Tagle's interventions highlighted his ability to approach divisive issues with sensitivity and a global perspective. He reminded participants that the Church's mission is not to impose, but to accompany, a message that resonated with many, but also left some questioning whether his approach was too soft. Tagle's leadership has also been tested during the COVID-19 pandemic, which disrupted traditional forms of worship and highlighted the Church's need to adapt. In the Philippines, he supported virtual masses and urged clergy to find creative ways to reach the faithful. His messages during this time were characterized by empathy, urging people to see the pandemic as an opportunity for spiritual renewal. However, the pandemic also exposed inequalities within the Church, such as the digital divide that left many without access to online services. Tagle's challenge was to address these disparities while keeping the Church's teachings central. In a world turned upside down by a pandemic, can faith bridge the gap between isolation and community? Tagle's tenure as a global leader in the Catholic Church is far from over, and his ability to tackle these challenges will likely shape his legacy. His approach, rooted in humility, dialogue, and a deep respect for tradition, has won him admiration from many quarters. Yet the question remains, is this enough? In an era demanding bold leadership, Tagle's careful balancing act may either solidify his reputation as a master of nuance or expose him to criticism for not acting decisively enough. What makes Tagle's journey so compelling is his humanity. Whether he is consoling abuse survivors, engaging with young people, or defending the church's teachings in the face of modern pressures, he embodies a leadership style that is as much about listening as it is about leading. His tears, his words, and his actions all reflect a man deeply aware of the weight of his responsibilities. Lessons in moral leadership. What makes a true leader? Is it charisma, power, or the ability to stand firm in a storm of crisis? For Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, it's none of the above. It's a profound sense of moral courage and unwavering hope. In a world fraught with division, scandals, and crises, few figures manage to stand as beacons of unity and integrity. Among them is Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, affectionately known as Chito to millions of Filipinos. As one of the most prominent leaders in the Catholic Church today, Tagle exemplifies resilience and spiritual guidance in a way that feels deeply personal, even to those who have never met him. What makes Tagle's leadership so compelling is not just his intellect or his ability to connect with people. It's his enduring message of hope and inclusivity, even during the most challenging times. When Tagle speaks, his voice carries the weight of someone who has lived through trials and emerged not just intact, but inspired. From navigating global crises, like the COVID-19 pandemic, to addressing the deep-rooted inequalities in society, Tagle's leadership has been a call for compassion and unity. His speeches are less about instruction and more about invitation, an invitation to be part of something greater than oneself. But can one man truly make a difference in times as fractured as ours? Tagle's life offers a resounding yes. One of Tagle's most memorable moments came during his tenure as Archbishop of Manila, where he was faced with addressing the rampant poverty that grips many Filipinos. Instead of taking a top-down approach, he made it a point to visit the poorest communities himself, listening to their struggles and sharing in their pain. This wasn't just charity, it was solidarity. Tagle has always insisted that true leadership requires more than solutions. It demands empathy. His example resonates deeply in an era where leaders are often criticized for being disconnected from the people they serve. Another hallmark of Tagle's leadership is his commitment to inclusivity. While some religious leaders lean into rigidity, Tagle offers a different approach. He has spoken openly about the need for the church to welcome everyone, regardless of their background, race, or social status. At the Synod of Bishops on the Family in 2014, he urged his fellow clergy to listen rather than judge, a message that echoes through his work to this day. What's the secret to inspiring millions across the globe? It turns out, the answer might just be humility. Tagle's humility is not just a character trait, it's a leadership style. Despite his growing influence, he now serves as prefect for the Congregation for the Evangelization of Peoples. Tagle remains deeply rooted in his faith and mission. He often shares stories of his own struggles, from grappling with personal doubts to moments of feeling overwhelmed by the enormity of his responsibilities. In doing so, he makes it clear that even leaders are human, and it's okay to admit vulnerability. As the church faces challenges ranging from dwindling attendance to increasing secularism, Tagle's message feels more urgent than ever. He has a unique ability to speak to both traditional believers and those disillusioned with organized religion. His vision of a church that heals and unites has made him a trusted voice not only in the Philippines but around the world. In times of crisis, the world doesn't just need leaders, it needs hope. And Luis Antonio Tagle delivers that hope, one message at a time. In the end, what sets Cardinal Tagle apart isn't just his actions or his words, it's his heart. He reminds us that leadership is less about control and more about connection, less about answers and more about understanding. His ability to inspire resilience, promote unity, and foster hope is a lesson not just for the church, but for anyone seeking to make a meaningful difference in the world. The investigation is just beginning, and the answers might be more shocking than we ever imagined. Make sure to stay tuned as we continue to follow this story closely. If you haven't already, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any updates on this unfolding investigation. What do you think the FBI's discovery means for the future? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.